What could possibly keep a four-star general, a former minister of defense, locked away behind bars in a country where military leaders have long held significant influence? The image of a decorated officer, once entrusted with the nation's security, now confined, is both striking and deeply symbolic. It raises urgent questions about the balance of power, the rule of law, and the evolving nature of democracy in Brazil. Is this simply a matter of legal procedure, or are there deeper, more complex currents at play within the Brazilian state? The answer is not straightforward. It lies at the intersection of law, politics, and the enduring legacy of military involvement in government affairs. The legal system is tasked with upholding justice, but it also operates within a society marked by political polarization and historical tensions. The detention of General Walter Braga Netto, a figure who once stood at the heart of Brazil's power structure, has become a lightning rod for debate. His arrest is not just a personal downfall, it's a moment that forces the nation to confront its own values. Is this the triumph of accountability or a sign of political retribution? The case has ignited passionate responses from supporters and critics alike, each interpreting the events through their own lens of justice, power, and political stability. This case is about far more than one man's fate. It represents a critical juncture where the authority of the judiciary is being tested against the backdrop of Brazil's history of powerful figures often escaping consequences. The Supreme Federal Court's actions are being closely watched, not just for their legal merit, but for what they signal about the future of Brazilian democracy. Authorities argue that Braga Netto poses a genuine threat if released, citing concerns for public safety and the integrity of ongoing investigations. But such claims demand careful scrutiny. What evidence supports these fears? Are the risks real, or are they being amplified by political motivations? The answers remain elusive, fueling speculation and debate across the country. In a democracy, the public deserves more than vague assurances. They deserve transparent, concrete evidence that justifies such a drastic measure as detaining a former general. Without it, trust in the system erodes, and suspicions of political maneuvering grow stronger. This situation is not just another legal drama. It taps into Brazil's recent history of political division, mass protests, and challenges to the very foundations of its democratic institutions. The streets of Brasília have seen both outrage and support, reflecting a nation deeply divided over the meaning of justice and the limits of power. To truly understand why Braga Netto remains behind bars, we must look beyond the headlines. We need to examine the justifications, the evidence presented, and the broader context of Brazil's ongoing democratic journey. Only then can we grasp the full significance of this unprecedented moment in the nation's history. The primary justification for Braga Netto's detention is the risk of flight, a concern that has been taken very seriously by the authorities. As stated by Supreme Federal Court Minister Alexandre de Moraes, this risk is not merely speculative but grounded in specific observations and intelligence reports. Moraes emphasized that Braga Netto's potential escape could undermine the judicial process, causing significant delays and complications in the ongoing investigation. The court argues that Braga Netto, with his extensive military background and high-level connections, could easily orchestrate a departure from the country, evading justice. The decision to keep him imprisoned is framed as a necessary safeguard to ensure he faces the charges brought against him, maintaining the integrity of the judicial process. Critics, however, argue that preventive detention must be substantiated with concrete evidence, not merely assumptions based on his status or past roles. The defense suggests alternatives like electronic monitoring to mitigate the flight risk, without resorting to full incarceration, emphasizing that such measures can be effective and less restrictive. This debate highlights the tension between ensuring justice and respecting individual rights, a balance that courts must navigate carefully. The outcome of Braga Netto's case could set a precedent for how similar cases are handled in the future. The dramatic arrest of Braga Netto has sent shockwaves through Brazil, marking a pivotal moment in the country's ongoing struggle to uphold its democracy. His detention is the result of Operation Tempus Veritatis, a sweeping and highly coordinated law enforcement initiative that has captured the attention of the nation and the world. Launched by the federal police, this major investigation is one of the most significant in recent Brazilian history, mobilizing hundreds of officers and analysts to uncover the truth behind a suspected plot that could have altered the course of the nation's leadership. Operation Tempus Veritatis specifically targets a sophisticated criminal organization accused of orchestrating a plan to subvert the results of the 2022 presidential election. Authorities allege that this group meticulously coordinated efforts to undermine the democratic process, raising serious concerns about the integrity of Brazil's electoral system. The investigation has implicated not only Braga Netto but also several other high-profile political figures, suggesting a broad and coordinated effort to keep then-President Jair Bolsonaro in power, even in the face of electoral defeat. These revelations have sparked intense debate and controversy across the political spectrum. Investigators have gathered a trove of evidence, including intercepted messages, secret audio recordings, and confidential documents. These materials reportedly detail step-by-step plans to contest the election results, revealing the depth and complexity of the alleged conspiracy. Within these findings, Braga Netto emerges as a central figure, portrayed as someone who not only supported but actively advocated for extreme measures to prevent the inauguration of the legitimately elected president. His actions, as described by investigators, suggest a willingness to go to great lengths to challenge the democratic process. As the investigation unfolds, authorities are working to prove that Braga Netto used his considerable influence and authority to undermine the Brazilian constitution, raising profound questions about the resilience of democratic institutions in the face of internal threats. The case against Braga Netto rests on accusations of forming a criminal organization. Prosecutors allege a structured group aimed to stage a coup and abolish the democratic state of law. Investigators describe different nuclei within the organization, with Braga Netto leading the military planning. Evidence includes testimony, intercepted communications, and a video of a meeting discussing plans to discredit the electoral system. The prosecution argues this was a strategic planning phase of a criminal enterprise. Braga Netto's legal team challenges the basis for his imprisonment, arguing it's unnecessary and unsupported by facts. They contend there's no concrete evidence justifying his detention. The defense proposes alternatives like house arrest and electronic monitoring. They argue discussions cited by investigators were political opinions, not criminal conspiracies. The defense suggests the case is politically motivated, aiming to neutralize a powerful opposition figure. They appeal to the public, questioning the Supreme Court's power and potential judicial activism. The Supreme Federal Court views its actions as defending Brazil's democratic order. The court's decisions, including Braga Netto's detention, are seen as necessary to protect the Constitution. The court fears allowing him freedom could lead to continued conspiracy and destabilization. Critics accuse the court of excessive power and political intimidation. Despite criticism, the court believes its intervention was warranted by the threat to democracy. The STF's actions will be studied as a response to democratic backsliding. The situation in Brazil is not unique. Other democracies have faced similar crises. The U.S. Capitol attack and Turkey's failed coup illustrate challenges posed by internal conspiracies. These cases show the severe reactions they provoke, raising questions about balancing security with civil liberties. Spain's response to a coup attempt in 1981 is a successful example of defending democracy. Brazil's handling of this crisis will be watched globally for adherence to due process and rule of law. Braga Netto's detention symbolizes the struggle over justice and the rule of law in Brazil. It challenges the perception of impunity for the powerful, signaling a potential shift. The case tests the resilience of Brazil's democratic institutions. If seen as fair, it could reinforce public trust. If not, it could deepen polarization. This is about the power of the state to enforce laws and the judiciary to hold government accountable. The outcome will send a message about the consequences of challenging the constitutional order. As legal proceedings unfold, citizens must engage in reflection on the values at stake. Democracy's health depends on informed participation and scrutiny of institutions. This case highlights the fragility of democratic norms and the need for civic duty. Open debate and critical inquiry are essential for understanding the situation. Let this moment spark a conversation about Brazil's future and democratic values. The ultimate verdict will be delivered by the collective actions of the Brazilian people.